Hey, I just want to give some tips to help us understand what's happening in life with our navigating of this world. We need to think of ourselves as a sponge that is squishy. And when we're born, we're actually a squeeze sponge when we're born. So then as we go throughout life until we die, we're constantly opening up like a blossom flower until we are at the end of our life, and then we move on to the next level. But on Earth, the whole duration from the moment of birth to the moment we expire, we are opening our sponge and absorbing, because that's what happens. You squeeze it, you put it in something, and it absorbs the surroundings, and it becomes part of it. So we are to be absorbing knowledge. And the problem that we're having is that if you think of knowledge, that's knowledge is truth. So if we think of knowledge as pure and clean, like clean water, then which we're mostly composed of, we're composed of knowledge, and knowing and knowledge is what we are. So when we only have knowledge and no impurities, we look like this, just a clean sponge. And if we're, only semi-squeezed, because we still got the rest of our life to go. But what happens is if we get impurities, it's like having muddy water and we absorb some of that. Or it's like having a glass of water that's pure and someone throws a chunk of mud in it. And we are going in swimming in that world, in that cup, and we're slowly absorbing stuff. So when someone throws mud at us, it gets into our sponge, and then it's much more difficult. You can't just squeeze it out if it's really deep, dirty mud. You have to get in and use special cleaners or a special way to clean it, and it can't just wash out. So there are some things that we can just dilute out of our body, and then there's things that we have to actually be a little bit more particular and try to get them out, because they're in so deep and they're stuck in there so good, just like mud and dirt in a sponge. So the stuff that is really difficult are the things that are holding in darkness and entities and trauma and pain and suffering. Those are the ones that are really deep and more difficult, that we have to be particular in the way that we heal them. And then they have the other stuff that is something like someone saying, you're dumb and you're ugly, which might affect others more than it affects others. But generally speaking, someone hurts your feelings and then you learn that it's not anything to be hurt. You're like, wait a second. And then, so the wound closes. It doesn't bother you as much. So there's things like that, or there's also things that you just dilute a little bit, because if you have a cup of clean water and someone throws mud in it, you can't pick the mud out like this. So a good way to do it is taking out the big pieces, and then you dilute the rest with love and truth, and that will help. Just like if you're pouring a glass of pure water into dirty water, that dirty water is eventually going to be cleansed, and all of the impurities are going to be removed. And so, yeah, because that's what you're pouring into it. If you're pouring in clean into something dirty and just repeatedly pour clean into it, it's eventually going to remove all of the impurities, and that is what this life's about. So don't forget that you're a sponge. Love ya.